الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله والحمد لله لا شريك له لا إله إلا هو وإليه المصير أمسينا على فطرة الإسلام وكلمة الإخلاص وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين اللهم إني أمسيت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر فأتم علي نعمتك وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم ما أمسى بي من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك فلك الحمد ولك الشكر يا رب لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا ثم أما بعد, my dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything, and we ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who give always thanks to Him and be thankful for everything that we have received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen. So tonight, inshallah, we would like to talk a little bit about two prophets together, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell us much about both of them, and also because they are father and son and they live together for some time. And we mean by these two prophets, Prophet Ishaq and Prophet Yaqub. And we know that Ishaq is the son of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He is the second son of Ibrahim, and Yaqub is the son of Ishaq. So we will talk about them together tonight, inshallah, and try to see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about them and what our scholars amongst al-Mufassirin, when they talked about them, what did they say? So, starting with Prophet Ishaq, he was born when his father Ibrahim alayhi salam was 100 years old, and he was born when his mother was 90 years old, and he was born when his brother Ismail was 14 years old. So this is the time about the birth of Ishaq alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned him in Surah As-Saffat when he said, وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِإِسْحَاقَ نَبِيًّا مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ, which means we have given the glad tidings to Ibrahim, telling him that you will be, or Allah Azza wa Jal will give you Ishaq, and Ishaq will be a prophet amongst the righteous, نبيا من الصالحين. وباركنا عليه وعلى إسحاق, and we have blessed him, Ibrahim, and his son Ishaq. ومن ذريتهما محسن وظالم لنفسه مبين. And among their offsprings, the sons and grandsons and great-grandsons of both Ibrahim and Ishaq, amongst them some of them who will be good and some of them who will be bad, ظالم لنفسه, which means people who will wrong themselves by deviating from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means the people who will come from the lineage of Ibrahim and Ishaq, some of them will be good and some of them will be bad. And also we know this from hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, when he said Al-Karim, Ibn al-Karim, Ibn al-Karim, Ibn al-Karim. Yusuf, Ibn Yaqub, Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Ibrahim. Al-Karim, which means here the honorable one. Okay, Al-Karim, the honorable one. So he said Al-Karim, the honorable one, the son of Al-Karim, the son of Al-Karim, the son of Al-Karim. And then he said Yusuf, Ibn Yaqub, Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Ibrahim. So all of them, from father to son, father to son, father to son, all of them, they were honorable people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made each and every one of them Nabi and Rasul. Nabi and Rasul. So this is how we know about Ishaq as part of that, as it is said, the golden chain of the prophets. The golden chain of the prophets. And from Ishaq came the prophets of Banu Israel. So from Ishaq actually came all the prophets from that side of Ibrahim until Isa alayhi salam. So every single prophet after Ishaq was from his own offspring. Yaqub, Yusuf, and then after that Sulaiman, Dawood, Sulaiman, Zakaria, everybody, Musa, Harun, until Isa alayhi salam. And from the other side came Ismail and Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So all the prophets who came after Ishaq, they were the prophets of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to Bani Israel. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he said about Ibrahim, وَجَعَلْنَا فِي ذُرِّيَّتِهِ النُّبُوَّةَ وَالْكِتَابِ. And we have made from his own lineage, from his own Ibrahim offspring, النُّبُوَّة, prophethood, and al-kitab, the scripture. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to make out of the dhurriyyah of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Ishaq was born, was a prophet to the people of Sham and Palestine. So Ishaq, he was born and he was raised and he lived his entire life in the area of Sham and Palestine. So, and the people who were living at that time over there, they are called Al-Kan'aniyun. Al-Kan'aniyun. So Ishaq was a prophet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to the Kan'aniyun, which are the people who lived at that time in Palestine and the Sham, in the whole area. So he was sent as a prophet to them. And later on in his life, Ishaq got married with his cousin by the name of Rifqa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them two sons, and they were twin. Al-Is, or he is known in the Old Testament as Isu and Yaqub. Isu and Yaqub. And they were born twin, but Isu came the first one, and then Yaqub. And it says that Yaqub, when he came after his brother, he was holding his brother from his foot, from al-aqib. Al-aqib is the back of the foot. That's why he was called Yaqub, because he was holding al-aqib. So he was named Yaqub after that, even though, this is one of the narrations, but we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named him before his father was born, before Ishaq was born. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the glad tidings to Ibrahim alayhi salam, he told him, you will have Ishaq, and after Ishaq you will have Yaqub. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this name long time before that birth. So Ishaq had these two sons, Isu and Yaqub. And the other name of Yaqub was Israel. And the name Israel, the word Israel means Ruhullah. the Spirit of Allah. Il is Allah in Hebrew. Isra means ar-ruh, Ruhullah. And by the way, this name Ruhullah, within the Persian society, a lot of Afghans, they use this name, Ruhullah. So Yaqub, the other name of Yaqub is Israel, so that's why everybody who came after Yaqub, they are called what? Banu Israel. The children of Israel means Yaqub, the children of Israel, which means the children of Yaqub. And we don't know much about the life of Ishaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't give us a lot of information about the life of Ishaq, but there are some information that we can find in the books of Banu Israel. In the books of Banu Israel. And some of the Muslim scholars and Mufassirin and those scholars who studied the stories of the prophets, they used some of the Israeliyat, we call them Israeliyat, but they interpreted them according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned those prophets. To the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala portrayed the prophets in general. And this is what we are going to talk a little bit when we will talk about Yaqub alayhi salam. So if you go and try to compare the interpretation of the events that took place in the life of Yaqub, for example, because there is no much information about Ishaq. When it comes to Prophet Yaqub, in his childhood, at his youth, young age, and even in his adult age, when you try to compare between the way he was portrayed in the Old Testament and the books of Banu Israel, and the way the Muslim scholars talked about him, a huge difference. A huge difference. We will mention that, but before that, let's just finish with Ishaq alayhi salam. Prophet Ishaq lived for 180 years. He lived for 180 years, and he died in Hebron and was buried with his father Ibrahim. And he was buried with his father Ibrahim. And we know that Ibrahim alayhi salam he died and he was born. He was buried in Hebron, in the same place. It's like a cave with his wife Sarah. So Ishaq, when he died, he asked his children to bury him with his father. This is where he's buried right now, in Hebron, which is the city of Al-Khalil in Palestine. City of Al-Khalil in Palestine. Now when it comes to Prophet Yaqub, Yaqub also was mentioned several times in the Quran, especially known, the biggest part of his life was mentioned with his son Yusuf, alayhi salam. And we find very little information about him here and there. But again, the Muslim scholars, they went to the books of the Old Testament of Banu Israel, and they tried to take from them whatever goes along with the Quran. Whatever goes along with the Quran. So, Prophet Yaqub was mentioned in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. And we have given, we have granted Ibrahim both Ishaq and Yaqub, وَجَعَلْنَا فِي ذُرِّيَّتِهِ النُّبُوَّةَ وَالْكِتَابَ. And we have made in his offspring the prophethood and the scripture. And Yaqub is the son of Ishaq ibn Ibrahim. He is the son of Ishaq, the son of Ibrahim, and his mother is by the name of Rifqa, the cousin of Ishaq and his wife Rifqa. And Yaqub is the father of what Al-Quran called Al-Asbaq. Al-Asbat are the sons of Yaqub, the 12 sons of Yaqub, including Yusuf alayhi salam. So Yusuf plus 11. That's why when he saw in the dream, and he told his father, إِنِّي رَأَيْتُ أَحَدَ عَشَرَ كَوْكَبًا, I have seen 11 planets. وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ, and the sun and the moon, all of them prostrated to me. So the 11 planets are his brothers, and the sun and the moon are his father and his mother. So we find in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the prophets, he mentions Al-Asbat. That's why many of the scholars, they say Al-Asbat were prophets as well. Some of them, they said no, not all of them were prophets. So it's a debatable issue among Muslim scholars whether Al-Asbat were prophets or not, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them in the context of the prophets. When he started mentioning the prophets one after the other, he mentioned Al-Asbat. That's why they said that they were prophets. Again, the word, the other word, name of Yaqub was Banu Israel, which means Ruhullah, the spirit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as an evidence that his other name was Israel is the verse from the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, كل الطعام كان حلا لبني إسرائيل إلا ما حرم إسرائيل على نفسه. All the food was permissible, was lawful for the children of Israel, except what Israel, which means Yaqub, has made prohibited upon himself. And this is an evidence that Yaqub, the other name of Yaqub was Israel. Yaqub was born in Palestine. Yaqub was born in Palestine, and he was raised there, and he was raised by his father Ishaq and his mother Rivka. Okay, and he was raised with his brother Al-Is or Isu. But here where the other interpretation of the story comes. If you go and try to read about the childhood and the life of Yaqub, you will find his story full of competing with his brother over prophethood, and that prophethood was meant to be for Isa, and Yaqub took the prophethood from his brother. There was hatred and envy between them all the time, and Isa kept threatening his brother. There was a big disagreement between Ishaq and his wife Rivka, because Rivka loved Yaqub and Ishaq loved Isa, so he preferred him over his brother. So it's the whole story is about lying, and you will find the interpretation or the version of Banu Israel that Yaqub, astaghfirullah, was a liar. He lied on his father Ishaq, taking advantage of his because when he was an old man, he almost lost his sight, so he started lying at him and so on. So these things, they contradict with the characteristics of the prophets. Meaning that you cannot believe somebody who grew up this way can become a prophet. Somebody who kept lying and doing some stuff that not even a prophet, any believer, any decent man cannot do, then all of a sudden becomes a prophet. But if you go to the Muslim side, you will see almost the same structure of the story. But subhanAllah, the interpretation is totally different. It's totally different. So, how was the childhood and the young age of Yaqub alayhi salam. In his childhood, there was kind of, he faced some challenges, coming from his own brother. And because of that, his father, Ishaq, versus in the Israeli side, saying that his mother was the one who sent him to her brother in Babylon, in Iraq. In the Islamic version, it says that Ishaq, when he saw the attitude of his son Isa towards his other son Yaqub, he called his son Yaqub and he made dua for him, he blessed him. And he told him, I hope that Allah will bless you with something great. And Allah will bless your offspring, your sons, your dhurriyyah will be a blessed one. And that's why I don't want you to stay here. I don't want you to be with your brother all the time, challenging you and having this envy towards you and so on. That's why I want you to go and join your uncle. And his uncle is the brother of his wife, the brother of the wife of Yaqub. He told him, I want you to go. He has 2 daughters, very well raised, very religious. I want you to stay over there, to spend time over there. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with one of them, so you will marry one of them. And then, later on, you can decide whatever you want to do in your life. So, in the Islamic version, both Ishaq and his wife Rifqa, they agreed on taking this decision. In the Israelite version, it was only the decision of the mother without consulting with her husband, because her husband didn't like Yaqub. He liked his other sons. You see the difference? In the Islamic version, both of them, Ishaq and Rifqa, both parents, they came together, they talked to Yaqub, and they told him, Ishaq told him that I hope and I pray that Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless you with something great, and he meant prophethood. So, in order to be safe, to grow up, in a better environment, go join your uncle. And his uncle in Babylon, in northern Iraq, he was very well known, he was very righteous, and he was a very wealthy person and very generous. So they asked him to leave, and Yaqub decided to leave. It was not an easy, decision to make, but since it came from his father, and he knew that his father was Nabi and Rasul, so it's in addition to being his father, he is his Rasul, and he is giving him a command to leave. So he took that and he left home. And the trip to northern Iraq was not easy. It was so difficult. To the point that at a certain moment in his trip, he started debating with himself whether to continue that way or just go back. And one day it was extremely hot and he was exhausted. And he was, at the edge of just making the decision to go back to his parents. Because he was in the middle of a desert, and whatever he looks, there is no end. While thinking, and debating with himself, he saw a big rock. And having a shade, he said to himself, let me go, have some rest over there, and then we will see what I can do. once he went to that shade, he sat down, he slept. When he slept, he saw in the dream something that made him very hopeful and very happy. He saw al-malaika, the angels, coming, from the sky down and then going up. And they kept going up and down to him, going up and down, going up and down. And he saw things that made him happy. So when he woke up with that hope to finish his journey, because he interpreted that dream that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preparing for him something very nice, very great. So he said, this is an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted me to continue my journey because He is preparing something good for me. In the version of Banu Israel, they say that he saw a dream, and in that dream, Allah talked to him and blessed him, and Allah promised him the land. You see the promised land? Okay? This is the version of Banu Israel, that Allah promised him a land. And when Yaqub woke up, he was happy, and he promised Allah that when he comes back to this land, which is Palestine, he will build the house of Allah, Beit El, which is in Hebrew, Beth El. That's why there are some synagogues nowadays, they are called Beth El. Beth, in Arabic, Beit El, Allah. Israel, the word El means Allah. So he promised, since Allah promised him the land, he promised Allah that when he comes back, he will build the house of Allah, Beth El, in the Holy Land in Palestine. So this is the difference. In the Islamic version, there is no promise. What Yaqub understood, that he will be blessed. Allah is promising him something good. So he continued his way. When he arrived to northern Iraq, he arrived to a place very green, lot of gardens, totally different from the path that he took in his journey. And he started seeing, a lot of camels and goats and sheep and cows and all that stuff. And he started asking people about his uncle. And the first person he asked, he told him, of course I know him. Everybody knows him in this area. He is a great man. He is a great person. He is very generous. He is this, he is that. And he started mentioning the good characteristics of his uncle. So Yaqub was very excited to meet with his uncle. He had never seen him before. And when that person was talking to him, was telling him about his uncle, and he told him, do you see all these goats and sheep and these cows here, in this valley? He said yes. He told him, all these belong to your uncle. He was so wealthy. And then that guy who was telling Yaqub, who was telling him about his uncle, he saw a girl. And he told him, do you see that girl over there? He said yes. He told him, this is your cousin. This is the daughter of your uncle. And that girl was very beautiful. And Yaqub, when he saw her, he went to her and he introduced himself. He introduced himself, and she was happy that her cousin is here. And he asked her to take him to meet her father. So she took him, and then he met his uncle. The scholar said, that meeting was very emotional. Was very emotional. So he sat with him, and Yaqub told his uncle the purpose of this visit, he told him that my parents sent me to you for spending time with you, but also I would like to marry one of your two daughters. His eldest daughter was the name by Leah, and his second daughter, the one he met, was by the name of I forgot the name of the second daughter, Rahil. Leah and Rahil. Rahil was the youngest and Leah was the oldest. And the intention of Yaqub was to marry Rahil. His uncle told him, you have to pay the dowry, al-mahr. And the dowry is to work for me for 7 years. You will be my shepherd for 7 years. After 7 years, I will give you the permission to marry my daughter. Yaqub agreed, and he told him, during 7 years, you will be like my son. I will be, providing you with whatever you need. So Yaqub agreed with him. After 7 years were over, his uncle told him, listen, in our tradition, we do not marry the youngest one until the oldest one is married. So what I would like to suggest to you is to marry my oldest daughter, Leah. And if you want to marry the second one, you have to work 7 more years as a shepherd, and you will be able to marry Rahil. At that time, in the Sharia at that time, it was permissible for a man to marry 2 sisters at the same time, which is not permissible in the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in their Sharia, in their law, it was permissible. This is the Islamic version, which means the uncle was straightforward with him that this is our tradition. My suggestion is, and he told him that even Leah is not as beautiful as Rahil, but she is very intelligent and she is a good person. Okay? And he was very straightforward with him. Once you work for 7 more years, you will be able to marry Rahil. In the version of Banu Israel is different. In the version of Banu Israel, his uncle agreed to allow him to marry Rahil at the beginning. Once he finished 7 years of work, they did al-walima at night. And they took the bride and arus to his home. He built a home for him at night, in the darkness of the night. And then when Yaqub went to meet his bride, he found out that she is not Rahil, she is Leah, her sister. And he got mad, and he went to her father, and there was like a fight and all that stuff. Subhanallah. This is not. What's that?
Just like an Indian movie.
Egyptian movie too. You see, wallahi, when you read the Israeli version of this story, you can't believe that you are reading about a prophet. It's about cheating, breaking promises, all that stuff. But when you read the same story from the Islamic version, subhanallah, everything is clear, straightforward, based on trusting one another, and you feel more comfortable reading about this great prophet named Yaqub. This is the difference. So this is how Yaqub alayhi salam ended up staying with his uncle for 14 years, and he married both daughters, and each one of them, and when they got married with Yaqub, their father offered each one of his daughters a maid, a servant, a maid. And Leah was the first one to give birth to 4 sons. And then Rahil couldn't give birth to anyone. And she was sad. So she offered her maid to her husband to marry her in order to have sons as well. So he married her maid and he got 2 sons. And then Leah offered her maid also to her husband. He married her and she gave birth to 2 sons. After having 4 and 2 and 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Rahil and she gave birth to 4 sons. 2 of them were Yusuf and his brother Benjamin. So Yusuf